Farscape Engineers. Expect a summary video. This is the repair video of floor by floor. So from the roof, this is the side courtyard fire escape. That over there's going to be the rear facing fire escape, and then there's a front fire escape facing the street. But this is the courtyard going down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into detail what needs to be done, and then after we've gone enough detail on one or two floors, then we basically repeat the detail in a floor by floor video detail. Okay, we're going to make sure that all the rust is cleaned. If we're going to verify a connection in lieu of a load test, then we just got to make sure that a lot of surface rust is removed. Caulk any areas that you're going to get water that is going to go in. Keep the original hardware that's been verified to be in good condition. Seal every joint into the building. Confirm the through bolt. A lot of times you can't, but verify that there's no evidence that there's rust buildup or of any kind. Seal this whole entire angle on both sides. We got to stop water from getting back in here. Okay, the entire length. So if it's going to be load tested upon conclusion of this spot repair, then everything's got to be sealed. Any original hardware left behind has to be verified that it's in good order. This, both the head and the nut is in good order, sealed. Otherwise, if you have original hardware and you want to avoid the load test, then again, aside from sealing everything, every connection is going to get a new bolt. Take it out and remove it. Okay? Take it out and remove it if we're going to avoid the load test. So, as you can see going down, every one of those connections, once they're verified, we need to seal them. Verify every connection and seal it, because we're going to go to a load test. Otherwise, every one of those square head bolts must be taken out and a new bolt popped in. In some cases, because of the structural issues that we may be encountering, you can back it up with another bolt if you're going to keep the original bolt. So you can also reinforce an original bolt with a backup bolt, and that's will avoid the load test also. So here, change all these bolts out, or if you verify the connection and you seal it, and we're going to load test. We're going to load test the railings and load test. But as you can see here, going down, there's a lot of sandwiching that occurs, and once you start sandwiching these things, they start popping the bolts. So you got to remove this rail, clean it, wire brush it, paint it, silicone shut it, put the bolts back in with new bolts. New bolts up here if we're going to avoid the load test, or verify this connection, seal it with silicone. Okay, so every time you verify a connection, so here's a good connection right here. So we're going to see this as we go keep going down. Every time we have rust in the connection, it doesn't matter anymore. The bolt's got to come out, the connection's got to be open. You got to clean it, you got to wire brush it, silicone shut it, spray some primer in there, then silicone shut it, reconnect it. Same thing here. Every one of these stringers has two E-clips, tops and bottoms. So again, if it's in good order, you need to leave the original hardware. We're going to seal it all with encapsulated with 35 to 50 year silicone, and then it stays with original hardware. If we're going to not load test it, then you got to remove all these bolts, even though they're in good order. Still seal everything up. So every surface on all this grating, you got to get in here and clean out all this grating. Make sure, and then wherever if there's rust getting in there, you got to prime the area, then you got a silicone shut on both sides to stop the water from getting in between the two. Look at all that rust buildup right there, see? Got to clean that out. Every one of these treads is got to come out, cleansed, primed, wire brushed, prime the area, then when you put it back, silicone shut this, but you got to give it a bevel so that the water doesn't pool in there anymore. On the all the treads, okay? They're showing evidence of rust in there. Got it? If you get a lot of these that are just surface rust, the other option is too, if you want to leave the original bolt, is you got to put in a new 1/2-inch bolt between the two. That new 1/2-inch bolt, 100% sealed, no rust in any of the connections, and that will basically avoid the load test also. Okay? See all the rust on all these connections? So 100% of these connections, you got to identify them, clean them, spot prime them. If you say that they're in good order, then you clean it, silicone it, spot prime it for the engineer of record to basically walk through and verify that the repairs are being done correctly. So spot prime, then ask for an inspection prior to a full paint job, which now is going to happen in the spring anyway. So all repair work should be spot primed, an alternating color. So try to use a a gray primer instead of a brown primer so that we know what work is being done. All right, so any of these connections, as you can see, the grating, the angle clip, you got to support it, you got to clean it 100%, and then you got to, when you put it back, there's going to be cracks and crevices. Any cracks and crevices, you got to seal it with silicone, but you can't leave any rust in the connection. Some of these rails are creating sandwiches, so you got to pop the rails at the bottom, remove, and then when you put the rails back on the stringers and on the C-channels, you got to seal it against the building. Any cement work along the building, you got to fix the cement first, and then you got to seal it with a sealant that basically bonds to metal and bonds to cement. Okay, but you can't use sealant as cement. You got to make sure that you do the cement work first with the hydraulic cement, fast drying hydraulic cement, and then you basically seal it from any further water intrusion. And then when you got angles going down alongside the back, you got to seal all these angles. Okay, you got to remove any debris. A lot of times these connections into the building, once you've cleaned these and silicone shut these, you can also put in a simple clip here with a new anchor expansion bolt up here and a bolt down here, and you basically negated the need. Now don't forget, if you're going to be scraping and painting this fire escape, you have to have a renovator's license because it does have lead on the fire escape. So you probably have to scrape the fire escape down using EPA standards first, then you'll have the ability to do all the structural. You have to find out what's going on with these ACs, because if this is an egress, you can't have an AC blocking an egress into this, so this needs to be addressed, aside from any pigeon issues. But again, original hardware, if they're in good order, they're going to stay, but you need to identify it, clean it, and then spot prime these areas that you're claiming to be in good order, because we're going to go to a load test, 100 pounds per square foot, so there could be 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 pounds that could be brought in, and all these fire escapes and staircases are going to get load tested. That's one option if you want to spot repair and load test. Otherwise, every one of these fasteners is coming out, if they're in good order or not. If they're in good order, they just need to be swapped out and sealed. If they're in not so good order and there's rust in them, then we need to cleanse all the rust out of it first, rebolt it, seal it, and spot prime it so that it can be inspected by the engineer of record. Okay, going down. Again, you can start seeing that the rust is starting to get on a lot of these gussets, so these are going to easy to pop anytime you get into clips of the railings. We like to use the angle clip, because a lot of times we might have some issues with that rusting going in there, and as that grows, it spalls all your bricks. Look at that right down there. See, that's what we're trying to avoid. See, that needs a major repair. So now that's got to be repacked with hydraulic cement, fast drying hydraulic cement, and then once it's all done, you got to seal the steel to the new hydraulic cement so that water intrusion doesn't get back in there anymore. Okay, the rails, primarily all the rails are going to have to be popped because of the sandwiching that's happening. The sandwiching that's happening here, you got to remove the rail, clean it, wire brush it, silicone shut it, and make the sandwich back now with silicone on both sides. Run your finger, and that way it'll stop the rusting from happening. The grating and then the cement into the building, every one of these cements got to be addressed. As you can see, there's a lot of spalling in a lot of these. So again, with hydraulic cement and then some sort of sealant that marries steel to cement needs to be done with this. Okay, and as you can see on the first one that we've done here, and then we're going to go down and just repeat ourselves. Anytime you have pieces like this where it's bending over, you got to fix it, and then you got to seal it up with silicone. So seal it, change all the bolts. If we're going to go to avoid the load test, 100% of all the major structural needs to be changed, not the minor. So corners are major. The bars just need to be verified. There's no welding on this fire escape because it's got lead on the fire escape. So cement, grating, railings, treads, 100% rebolting to avoid the load test. Spot repair, only the ones that are in bad order. And as we can see here on this one, these railings are all going to pop off on this floor here, simply because we got rust in all this. So 100% of these railings are going to come out and then re-established. So all these bolts are going to be redone anyway. And on this staircase coming down, I'm finding that I've got surface rust in these connections If any of them are beyond that, we need to change the bolt. Otherwise, if it's faster to change the bolt, do so. If not, and remove the tread and cleanse. Or if you put in a back inch half bolt back up here, and again, we're on floor number 7 going to number 6, then we need to silicone shut this so that the water bevels out and the water doesn't pool in there like it's doing right now. Okay, every single one of these connections here, as it makes the corner, a lot of those are riveted. So we need to make sure that in situations like this one, okay, you got a rivet there. So you're gonna change those 2 rivets out, or see if you got the space in between the 2, you can put in a bolt between that, and the bolt will either have to be 2 1/2-inch bolts or 1 5/8 bolt. And as you can see here on the end, you've got a rivet there. If you find that rivet to be in good order, then you can back it up with a bolt, or just if you want to, if you have a rivet buster or you want to drill those out, you change those to 2 3/8 or 2 1/2-inch. I believe those are 1/2-inch rivets, and then they face the front also. So everything cleansed, and then any connections got to be resealed with the 35 to 50 year silicone. This is 7th floor to 6th floor. Any questions, Fire Escape Engineers? Inspect the summary video. We're doing floor number 5 next.